And I'm excited to be able to kind of share with you that we're going to be able to begin with really our first one. And I want you to be able to think about this as we go in. And you're going to be able to see some quotes that are going to come up on the screen in a little bit here. It's going to be a way to be able to kind of set the context for what we have here. And so, Drew, we'll start with our first one. And our first quote that we'll get a chance to be able to see begins to here. And I want you to be able to kind of take a look, because each one of these might have something to do with the story, with the powerful legacy. Okay, so Robert Frost, different than here, said, "Two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." Two roads. But what happens when a road has not been traveled upon yet? Someone needs a trailblazer. Hasn't been even journeyed upon. And that's whom we first celebrate this evening. Wilkes County would not look like, operate, thrive as it does without the vision and the tenacity of Dr. Franklin Shepard. From the initial surveying of what is now 421 to the restoration of mail routes throughout the entire county. From 30 years as superintendent to the countless lives that he impacted through scholarships and a lifetime of service to Wilkes and beyond. Tonight, we honor the life and legacy of the Lion King of the Blue Ridge and our first Hall of Fame inductee, Dr. Franklin Shepard. Accepting for Dr. Franklin Shepard, would you please welcome to the front Miss Sharon Oxford. And Sharon, we're going to be able to want to get a picture with you right here, of course, with our president there. I'll send you right to there. This is the celebrity moment, the paparazzi moment as it is here, looking fantastic. And would you please welcome Miss Sharon Oxford.
Hello. I'm just delighted to be here to represent Dr. Franklin Shepard. Let me say something. He was not a doctor, but in 1869, when he was born, often children were named Doctor. And so this is what they named him, Dr. Franklin Shepard. I'm going to give you a point of reference here because this is a long time ago, and he died in 1960. Wilkes County became a county around 1848. We were a county. North Wilkesboro was incorporated March the 4th, 1891. North Wilkesboro was seen as our commerce because it was going to have a railroad, and then Wilkesboro was going to be the governance place, and that's why we have the original county courthouse there, because it was going to be the place for, and now it's the Heritage Museum. Well, Doc completed 7 years of formal schooling with each school year, and the school years were only 3 months. So at age 14, he had completed his whole education. This was the terminal in 1885. His job was to work with his father, and he was to pick apples and grow vegetables, because this is what they did here. But he wanted more. So he was very intelligent, and he read all the time. He walked 269 miles to the coal mines in West Virginia to earn some money. He earned enough money to buy a farm of 275 acres. By 1897, this is when he bought it. He had also started developing his own sawmill business. He bought his own sawmill equipment, and he employed at that time 14 men. He was having a prosperous farm. Interesting, taxes on his farm in 1900 on 275 acres was $12.53. So the headlines in 1898 were, "We need roads." And I researched him through our newspapers, and I can give a real shout out to our public library because they helped me. And from 1885 to 1960, when he passed away, there were over 100 articles of things he was doing for the community, not to mention all the other articles where he was visiting on Sunday afternoons with the neighbors. And the newspapers, if you'll go research, if you have an ancestor and you would like to nominate them, it's just fascinating to read. They tell everything. They had fights in the neighborhoods. They had to call out for help. So, so anyway, 1898, we need roads, and that was the headline in the newspapers. We did have a group of county commissioners, and they knew Doc Shepard had trained to become a surveyor. It's a mystery how he became trained to do everything he did, but he did. And I don't know if he went back and forth to Raleigh. I don't know where he went. That's still a mystery, but he was trained. They literally said, "We want you to survey our new highway, Boone Trail." It was to go from North Wilkesboro to Boone. At this time, there was nothing there at all. There was a path. And he started in 1907 and finished it in 1920. It was just gravel. Now, at the time when he was doing this, he had to get appeasement, which means if I lived on the side of that road, I had to agree to take care of it. So if it flooded out, we had a pothole, it was my responsibility to keep it up. And if not, I would be charged. So he had to get all the people all the way from North Wilkesboro to agree to do this. So now, it's 1920. He's supervising the road, running a large farm, has his own sawmill, has employees of many men, and he's also a country lawyer. He conducts court. He was superintendent of his church, master of the Masonic Lodge, and life was booming with success for 49-year-old Dr. Franklin Shepard and his wife, Lufini, a triplet. But sadly, his only son was preparing to attend NC State College, and the horrible flu epidemic came and took him. As devastated as he was, Doc had the question of faith in his soul, and he believed when terrible things happen, something of good will come if you will work hard enough. And I had heard him say this as a child. So upon completion of the original Boone Trail, which he got complete, the same group of county commissioners came to him and said, "Will you supervise this for another 10 years?" So he did. And in 1925, during this time, he and Mrs. Shepard provided a home for a lovely little 3-year-old girl that needed a home. So that fulfilled some needs they had. Well, big things are beginning to happen across the state. And we have a Governor McLean who wants to appoint school board members all over the state of North Carolina. And he was looking for men that believed in education and had the grit, and I will tell you that, grit to face the public. Doc was appointed to serve on the Board of Education and repeatedly appointed by 8 more governors until he chose on his own to retire at age 82. When he was first appointed in 1929, there were 120 schools in this county. He knew that these one-room wonders had to be consolidated to provide quality education. His goal of 4 high schools, which was his dream, became to fruition in 1955. But when he resigned in 1952, it was already on the boards to happen. Doc was an initial investor and founding director of the North Wilkesboro Bank that became Northwestern Bank, First Union, and today Wells Fargo. He had served as president of the Red Cross during both World Wars. He bought Bibles for all the soldiers from Wilkes County that went to World War I, and he provided scholarships for numerous students. He especially wanted women to have an education. And when you think about when he was born, that really makes me smile. In fact, there was a young woman in Peleer in 1927 that qualified and wanted to go to Duke University and could not. And she came to him and asked him to help her, and he did send her to Duke University. And one of his proudest moments was when she came to pay him back. Well, here we go with the biggest controversy in this county in 1952 and 53. The Postmaster General, Summerall, decided expenses had to be cut. So after looking around the United States, and I'm not kidding you, he's looked around the entire United States, he decided the mountains of North Carolina was the chosen location to cut out our post offices. He stated Wilkes County citizens were really semi-pioneers, and we wouldn't know the difference. He also indicated maybe we just were educated to know the difference and probably would not contest the changes. He had not met Dr. Franklin Shepard. His proposal was to get rid of all rural post offices and possibly leave only one in the county, maybe 2. Word spread fast. Doc was called on to lead the fight. The organizational meeting had 500 people show up at our now Heritage Museum, which was the county courthouse. Doc was elected unanimously as the leader. He organized 50 people to caravan to Washington, D.C. As assistant, he did take an assistant because remember he was 82 years old and his hearing was not what it should have been. He took Wilkes County Register of Deeds, Garley Foster, so he could hear everything. And Garley was going to tell him everything that was going on, so Doc would not miss out on one thing. Standing proud and tall in the halls of Congress, Dr. Shepherd presented his case. The case was closed, and today we have these post offices. Finally, 1953, Doc is ready to retire to his farm and enjoy the fruits of his labor. The little girl they took into his home in 1925 provided him with 2 grandchildren that he doted on until his death in 1960. He died peacefully in his sleep at the age of 90, a good and faithful servant and a life well lived. Thank you.
Once again, let's hear from Sharon Oxford, please, once again. To be able to bring that to visual here, we wanted to be able to share with you the video that really encapsulates some of those highlights that Sharon had shared with us. So we're going to be able to go to this tribute video to, of course, our first inductee. Drew, if you would, please.
Doc was born right after the Civil War. He grew up through World War I, World War II, the Great Depression. In the 1950s, when I got to know him, it was very obvious that Doc had a vision and was helping people.
In the South, after the Civil War, when life was bleak, when he came along in 1869, there was nothing. As you can imagine, no electricity, no roads, no Burger King, no anything. But he did not give up. He went to work, his ability to work, see the need, and to have a vision for what it could be. Like he talked about community colleges before they even exist. So I think he's a visionary.
He's my great uncle, and we just called him Uncle Doc. He was a big community leader. He always seen that neighbors had something to eat. He would always ask, how you was doing or if there's anything he could do to help you. He was a helping person. There was little old one-room schools all over the mountains, and he was really a big instigator in consolidation. I think education would have been his #1 priority.
Served 27 years on the Board of Education, and it went from short school years to longer school years to middle and consolidating the high schools, the 4 high schools. That legacy lives today. He's one of those rare individuals that if you are around him, he's going to do something to help you in a positive manner.
Well, I thought of him as the Lion King of the Blue Ridge, because he was a very assertive, determined kind of person. He just was into things that needed doing.
I guess he was one of the great influences in my life. One summer, he hired me and my sister, my older sister, to pick the tobacco worms off of the plants. And they were long green worms with a horn on the back, and he said, golly, they won't bite you, but they'd strike at you. He said, just pick them up by the middle of the back and drop them in he'd give us a little can with kerosene oil in it. And my sister wouldn't, so he gave her a clothespin to pick them up with.
Helped promote the highway. They actually had to get out and work the highway. Didn't have any equipment much. It wasn't paved. He's been gone since December 12th, 1960, but I carry him in my heart, in my mind, and I'm just so thankful that I got to be with him.
Wilkes County shaped him, or it might be the other way around. He shaped Wilkes County. It's not what you take from it, but what you give back to it. And that's what Doc was doing. Sent a young man to med school so they'd have a doctor in the community. Surveying 421 to Boone. He kept the mail routes. In Wilkes County, can you imagine having to drive from the Maple Springs community on the old road to go get your mail for the day? He was a hard worker, and he was driven. He's a visionary person. Wilkes County is a much better place today because of Dr. Shepherd.